All right, let's talk about something that gets a pretty bad rap, but is, I think, one of the most important inventions in human history: taxes.
Specifically, direct taxes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Taxes are complicated and boring. And you're not wrong, they can be.
But they are also the invisible engine that powers, well, pretty much everything you see around you. So what is a direct tax?
In the simplest terms, it's a tax that you pay directly to the entity that is levying it, which is usually the government. There's no middleman.
The responsibility for paying this tax cannot be shifted to someone else. It's on you. Your name is on the bill, metaphorically speaking. Think of it like this. If you order a pizza, you are the one who pays the delivery driver. You can't ask your neighbor to pay for your pepperoni passion.
A direct tax works in a similar way. The government says, hey, based on certain criteria, like how much money you earn or the fact that you own a house, you owe us a certain amount.
The most famous or perhaps infamous example is the income tax. This is the big one.
Most working adults around the world are familiar with it. The government takes a percentage of the money you earn, whether that's from a salary, from being self-employed, from investments, or from other sources.
The more you earn, typically, the higher the amount of tax you pay. This is often structured as a progressive system. Another super common example is property tax. If you or your family own a home or a piece of land, you've definitely encountered this one.
This is a tax levied on the value of real estate. A local government, like your city or county, will assess the value of your property and then charge you a certain percentage of that value each year.
This money funds the public schools in your district, pays local firefighters, maintains the neighborhood park, and fixes the potholes on your street. And there are others. Think about corporate income tax. It's just like personal income tax, but for businesses.
A company calculates its profits for the year, and then it pays a percentage of those profits directly to the government. This is a huge source of revenue for many countries.
There are also things like wealth tax or inheritance tax, which are direct taxes on a person's total net worth or on the assets they pass on to their heirs. So we've established that people and companies pay these taxes. But why? Why do governments go to all the trouble of setting up these complex systems?
The answer is both incredibly simple and profoundly important. Governments need money to function. A government without a source of revenue is like a car without gasoline.
It might look impressive, but it isn't going anywhere or doing anything. Think about the sheer scale of a modern nation. It's a massive, sprawling enterprise. You've got millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of people who need things. They need safe roads to drive on, a military to protect the country's borders, a legal system to resolve disputes, and a regulatory framework to make sure our food is safe.
All of these things cost an astronomical amount of money. The salaries for soldiers, judges, food inspectors, and government administrators all have to come from somewhere.
Furthermore, direct taxes are often seen as a fairer way to collect revenue, a concept known as ability to pay.
The principle is that those who have more financial resources, higher incomes, or more valuable property are better able to contribute a larger amount to the public good. This is why income tax systems are often progressive.
Someone earning $1 million a year can more easily part with 30% of their income than someone earning $30,000 a year. Okay, so we've got a good handle on direct taxes, but to really understand what they are, it helps to understand what they're not.
And what they're not is indirect taxes. This is the other major category of taxation, and it works in a fundamentally different way. With a direct tax, the burden cannot be shifted.
You get the bill, you pay the bill. An indirect tax, however, is sneaky. When you go to a cafe and buy a muffin for $3, the price you pay might actually be $2.75 for the muffin and 25 cents in sales tax. The cafe owner is the one who officially collects this tax and sends it to the government, so the impact is on them.
But they didn't really pay it, did they? They just added it to your bill. The incidence or the real cost fell on you, the muffin eater. You paid the tax, but you paid it indirectly.
This difference is huge. Direct taxes are visible. You see the line on your payslip for income tax. You get a bill in the mail for property tax. Indirect taxes, on the other hand, are often hidden within the price of goods and services. You might not even notice you're paying them unless you look closely.
This makes them politically very popular for governments to implement, because people are less likely to complain about a tax they don't consciously feel themselves paying. It's much less painful to pay an extra 50 cents on a movie ticket than write a check for $1,000.
So the government has collected all this money through income taxes and property taxes. Where does it all go? It's a fair question.
You've paid your share, and naturally, you want to know what you're getting for your money. The answer is, you're getting civilization.
A huge portion of direct tax revenue is funneled directly into public services and welfare, things that form the very fabric of a functioning society. Now, think about the big ones like healthcare. In many countries, tax money funds public hospitals, medical research, and healthcare programs. It pays the salaries of doctors and nurses and buys the sophisticated medical equipment that saves lives. Then there's education. Public education systems, from kindergarten all the way through to public universities, are overwhelmingly funded by tax dollars.
Your income and property taxes pay for the school buildings, the textbooks, the computers, and most importantly, the salaries of the teachers who are educating the next generation of citizens.
Tax revenue is critical for infrastructure and public safety. This includes everything from the massive, like building and maintaining the national highway system and bridges, to the local, like paving roads, maintaining the sewer system, and keeping the streetlights on. It also funds our first responders. The salaries and equipment for police officers, firefighters, and paramedics are all paid for by the collective pool of tax money.
These are the services that provide the safety and security we often take for granted. Tax revenue also supports national defense, the justice system, environmental protection, and provides a social safety net for people who have fallen on hard times.
So this system of direct taxation sounds like a pretty good deal in theory. We all chip in, and in return we get schools, roads, and a functioning society. But what happens when the system breaks down?
The biggest and most persistent challenge facing any direct taxation system is tax evasion. This is the illegal act of not paying taxes that you owe. Tax evasion is when an individual or company deliberately misrepresents their financial situation to pay less tax.
For example, a restaurant owner might not declare all their cash sales, or a freelancer might not report all their income. When tax evasion becomes widespread, it poses a serious threat to the government's ability to function. It creates a massive shortfall in revenue. It might have to cut funding for essential services like education or healthcare. It could mean that road repairs get delayed, public parks become run down, or there aren't enough resources for law enforcement.
Beyond the financial impact, tax evasion also erodes social trust and fairness. It creates a two-tiered system. On one side, you have honest citizens and businesses who pay their taxes, shouldering the full burden. On the other side, you have those who are cheating the system.
To combat this, governments create large, powerful tax agencies, like the IRS in the United States, whose job it is to enforce tax laws. They conduct audits, investigate suspected fraud, and impose hefty penalties, fines, and even prison sentences on those caught evading taxes.
It's a constant, high-stakes cat-and-mouse game. The government needs to make it easier for people to pay correctly, but also make it very risky and painful to cheat, all to protect the integrity of a system that is absolutely essential for the country's survival.
When we dig deeper, we find that direct taxation is about so much more than just collecting money to pay for things. It's a physical manifestation of a philosophical idea called the social contract.
This is a concept that goes back centuries, championed by thinkers like Jean-Jacques Rousseau. The basic idea is that people living in a society implicitly agree to give up some of their individual freedoms, in this case, a portion of their money, in exchange for the protection and benefits provided by government.
Paying your income tax is you holding up your end of this unspoken bargain. This direct link between the citizen and the state is incredibly powerful for building a healthy democracy. Because you are paying the government directly, you have a vested interest in how that money is spent. When you see a news report about government waste or a politician proposing a massive new spending project, you're more likely to pay attention because it's your money they're talking about.
This creates a feedback loop. Citizens pay taxes, which gives them the standing to demand transparency and good governance. Politicians, knowing they rely on these taxes, are, in theory, more accountable to the citizens who pay them.
Think about the alternative. If a government were funded entirely by, say, oil revenue instead of taxes, the relationship would be totally different.
The government wouldn't need to be as responsive to its citizens, because it doesn't depend on them for its income. This is known as the resource curse, and it can often lead to less democratic and more authoritarian forms of government.
Direct taxation, by contrast, forges a bond of mutual dependence. The state depends on the people for revenue, and the people depend on the state for services. So, after all this, we come back to a simple truth. Direct taxation, for all its complexity and its unpopularity, is not a punishment. It's a pillar of civilization.
It's the system we've collectively designed to pool our resources to achieve things we could never accomplish on our own. From the firefighter who saves a home, to the scientist who discovers a cure, from the teacher who inspires a child to the engineer who designs a bridge, their work is made possible by this steady collective stream of funding.
Paying taxes is an act of community participation, a tangible investment in the well-being of your neighbors and the future of your nation. Yes, the system is imperfect. The debates over fairness, efficiency, and how the money is spent are legitimate and necessary in any healthy democracy. But the alternative to a society funded by taxes is a society with no public schools, no paved roads, no clean water regulations, no national defense, and no social safety net.
It would be a society where the quality of your life would depend entirely on your own private wealth, a far more brutal and unequal world than the one most of us inhabit today.
The next time you see a portion of your paycheck deducted for income tax, or when you write that check for your annual property tax, try to see it not just as money lost, but as your contribution to this vast, intricate, and amazing human project. You are funding the education of a future leader. You are helping to maintain the park where families gather. You are paying for the scientific research that could one day save a loved one's life.
You are upholding your end of the social contract and ensuring that the society that supports you can continue to function and thrive for generations to come. In the grand scheme of things, paying your fair share is a profound act of civic duty and, dare I say, optimism.
It's a vote of confidence in the idea that by working together and contributing our small part, we can build and sustain a society that is safer, smarter, healthier, and more just for everyone. It's not just about money, and it's not just about the government. It's about us. It's about the kind of world we want to create and live in together. And that is a pretty big deal.